The betrayal unveiled. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the ISV Retribution dropped out of hyperspace, its sleek hull bearing the scars of a war that had nearly brought humanity to extinction. Captain Maya Chen stood at the command center, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the devastation of what had once been the prosperous colony of New Anchorage. Now it was nothing but floating debris and twisted metal. "It's been 6 months since the ceasefire," said Commander Vikram Rajan, her second in command, as he approached with a tablet. "Yet it still feels like we're at war." "Because we are," Maya replied, taking the tablet. "The Xenos may have withdrawn, but their influence remains." The war with the Xenos Dominion had lasted 7 brutal years. The alien collective had appeared without warning at the edge of human space, their biomechanical ships overwhelming the outer colonies before Earth's unified defense forces could mount an effective response. 2 billion dead, 17 worlds rendered uninhabitable. The once mighty human fleet reduced to a fraction of its former strength. But humanity had survived, against all odds. And now, they were learning the terrible truth. "This just came in from Fleet Intelligence," Vikram said, his voice dropping. "Security Clearance Alpha." Maya swiped through the report, her expression hardening with each page. The information confirmed what some had suspected, but few dared speak aloud. The Xenos should never have been able to penetrate Earth's defense network so easily. They shouldn't have known the locations of hidden military installations or the encryption codes for the early warning systems. They had help. Human help. "Traitors," Maya whispered, the word bitter in her mouth. The Retribution had been secretly reassigned. No longer a standard patrol ship, it was now the vanguard of a new kind of war, hunting down those who had betrayed humanity to the aliens. Admiral Hassan's orders were clear: find them, understand their motivations, and bring them to justice. Maya called her senior officers to the secure briefing room. Besides Vikram, there was Dr. Lena Novak, the ship's chief science officer and xenobiologist, Security Chief Marcus Ortega, a veteran of the Battle of Proxima Centauri, Communications Specialist Jin Soo Park, and Chief Engineer Zoe Washington, whose innovations had saved the ship more than once during the war. "What I'm about to share does not leave this room," Maya began, activating the holographic display. Images of men and women appeared, along with service records, last known locations, and suspected activities. These individuals are believed to be part of a network called the Ascended. During the war, they provided critical intelligence to the Xenos, costing us battles, ships, and millions of lives. The room was silent as the officers processed this betrayal. "Why?" Zoe finally asked. "Why would humans help those things?" Dr. Novak leaned forward. "Ideology, perhaps, or coercion. The Xenos have demonstrated limited telepathic abilities and advanced neural interface technology. Or they were promised power," Marcus added darkly. "There's always someone willing to sell out their own kind if the price is right." Maya brought up an image of a man in his 50s with silver hair and a distinguished bearing. "This is our first target. Commander Elliot Warner, former Strategic Operations Officer for the Jupiter Defense Ring. He disappeared 3 weeks before the ring was compromised, but intelligence shows he's resurfaced on Nexus Station, a trading hub at the edge of what used to be Xenos space." She outlined the plan. The Retribution would approach Nexus Station under the guise of a supply vessel. A small team would infiltrate the station, locate Warner, and bring him in for questioning. If resistance was encountered, they were authorized to use lethal force. But Maya emphasized the need for capture if possible. They needed information more than vengeance. 3 days later, the Retribution approached Nexus Station, its military markings concealed beneath civilian identifiers. The station was a massive structure, a wheel spinning slowly in space, populated by humans and a dozen alien species engaged in post-war commerce. Maya led the ground team herself, along with Marcus, Dr. Novak, and 2 security specialists. They moved through the crowded marketplace, their weapons concealed under civilian clothes, following the tracker signal Jin Su had managed to place on Warner's personal communicator. Target is moving toward Level 3, Section D. Jin Su's voice came through their discreet earpieces. He's not alone. Acknowledged, Maya responded quietly. Team, converge but maintain distance. Lena, get your scanner ready. They followed Warner through the bustling corridors of the station, maintaining a careful distance. He was accompanied by two men with the bearing of private security, their eyes constantly scanning for threats. When Warner entered a quieter section of the station, a dimly lit bar frequented by spacers and those seeking privacy, Maya signaled the team to move in. Dr. Novak activated her scanner, disguised as a common data tablet. Captain, she whispered urgently after a moment, I'm picking up unusual readings from Warner and his guards. There's some kind of implant at the base of their skulls, similar to Xenos neural interface technology. Maya's blood ran cold. This wasn't simply collaboration, it was something worse. Change of plans, she decided. We take them now, before anyone else shows up. Marcus, you and Talia take the guards. Devin, with me for Warner. Lena, stay back and monitor. They moved swiftly. Maya approached Warner's table, her hand inside her jacket gripping her stunner. Commander Warner, she said calmly. Captain Maya Chen, Earth Defense Force. You need to come with us. Warner looked up, startled. Then his eyes narrowed. Without warning, his guards drew weapons. Ascension comes for all. Warner shouted as chaos erupted. Energy pulses flashed across the bar. Patrons screamed and dove for cover. Maya ducked behind an overturned table as a bolt sizzled past her head. Marcus fired with precision, dropping one guard with a stunner round to the chest. A second guard revealed an alien weapon that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. That's Xenos tech. Lena called out. Be careful. Warner was moving toward a back exit. Maya vaulted over the table and sprinted after him, dodging between panicked civilians. The traitor pulled out a small device, pressing it against a wall panel. The panel slid open, revealing a hidden passage. He's getting away, Maya shouted, firing her stunner. The bolt glanced off Warner's shoulder, making him stumble but not fall. She pursued him down the dark corridor, calling for backup as she ran. The passage opened into a small docking bay where a sleek shuttle waited, its engines already powering up. Warner was halfway to the ship when Maya tackled him from behind, sending them both crashing to the deck. They fought brutally, hand to hand. Warner was stronger than his age suggested, enhanced somehow. His eyes had an unnatural gleam, and when he snarled at her, Maya saw strange metallic filaments beneath his skin. You don't understand, Warner gasped as they grappled. The Xenos are the future. Humanity is obsolete. The Ascended will bridge the gap, evolution through union. You betrayed your own species, Maya spat, driving her knee into his stomach. Billions died because of people like you. Warner smiled terribly. Necessary sacrifice. The worthy survive to ascend. With a sudden burst of strength, he threw Maya off and lunged for his weapon. She rolled and came up firing. Her stunner bolt caught Warner squarely in the chest. He convulsed and collapsed. By the time the rest of the team arrived, Maya had secured Warner and was examining the shuttle. Marcus reported that one guard was dead. He'd triggered some kind of self-destruct implant rather than be captured, but they had the second in custody. Dr. Novak scanned Warner thoroughly. The implant is extensive, Captain. It's integrated with his central nervous system and parts of his brain. I've never seen anything like it. Inside the shuttle, they discovered data crystals and alien technology, evidence of ongoing communication with Xenos elements despite the official end of the war. Most disturbing was a star chart with several human colony worlds marked for what appeared to be future operations. This is bigger than we thought, Maya said grimly as they transported the prisoners back to the Retribution. They're not just traitors hiding from justice. They're still active, still working with the enemy. In the ship's secure medical bay, Dr. Novak worked to stabilize Warner while also studying the implant technology. The captured guard was confined separately, under heavy sedation to prevent self-termination. Maya sent an encrypted report to Admiral Hassan, including all they had discovered. The response came swiftly. Continue the investigation. Follow all leads. Determine the full extent of the conspiracy. The war never ended, Maya told her assembled officers later. It just changed. And now we know our enemy wears a human face. The Retribution set course for the coordinates found in Warner's data, a remote research station where, according to the intelligence they'd gathered, more members of the Ascended were working on something called the Convergence Project. The Hunter's Resolve. The holographic display in the Retribution's lab showed the intricate structure of the alien implant removed from the captured guard's nervous system. It pulsed with an eerie bioluminescence even separated from its host, tendrils of microscopic filaments that had woven themselves through human tissue and nerve bundles. It's not just technology, Dr. Novak explained to Captain Chen and the senior staff. It's partially organic, growing and adapting inside the host body. And here's the truly disturbing part. It doesn't simply control the host. It gradually rewrites neural pathways, changing how the person thinks. Maya studied the magnified image, disgust, and fascination warring within her. You're saying these aren't just collaborators. They're being transformed. Precisely, Lena nodded. The longer the implant remains, the more the host's thoughts align with Xeno's consciousness. Eventually, they wouldn't even remember being human in the same way. Warner had not survived the extraction attempt. His implant had been too deeply integrated, triggering a cascading neural failure when they tried to remove it. But not before he'd revealed crucial information, the location of a major Ascended base on Persephone, a supposedly abandoned mining colony on the Outer Rim. The data we recovered from Warner's shuttle is equally troubling, Vikram added, bringing up another display. The Ascended have infiltrated at least 3 levels of Earth's government and military command. They call it preparing the ground for convergence, whatever that means. Maya's expression hardened. It means they're planning another attack. Not a conventional invasion this time, but something worse. Subversion from within. She straightened up, decision made. Set course for Persephone. Maximum stealth approach. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we alert command, especially if we can't be sure who to trust. As the Retribution journeyed toward the distant colony, Maya spent hours reviewing personnel files from Earth Command, looking for patterns, for any hint of who might have been compromised. The work was exhausting and disheartening. People she had served with, respected, could be working against humanity's interests without even being aware of it. Late in the ship's night cycle, Vikram found her still at it, surrounded by holographic files in her quarters. You should rest, Captain, he said, concerned. We'll reach Persephone in 18 hours. Maya rubbed her eyes. How do we fight this, Vikram? An enemy that turns our own people against us, that hides behind familiar faces. The same way humanity has always fought seemingly impossible odds, he replied, with determination, ingenuity, and by remembering what we're fighting for. She smiled faintly. When did you become the optimist between us? Someone has to balance your brooding intensity, he said with a small smile of his own. A notification chimed. Dr. Novak requesting their presence in the lab. They found her examining a new data set, her expression troubled. I've finished analyzing the communication patterns from Warner's files, she explained. They reference someone called the Architect, apparently the highest-ranking human working with the Xenos. And, Maya, there's something else. The doctor hesitated, then brought up a personnel file. Maya felt her blood freeze in her veins. The face on the screen was one she knew intimately. Admiral James Chen, her father. This can't be right, she whispered. The evidence is circumstantial, Lena admitted. But there are messaging patterns, station assignments, resource allocations that suggest high-level coordination. And your father was in position to. My father died at the Battle of Titan. Maya cut her off. His ship was destroyed with all hands. His body was never recovered. Vikram said gently, "You know this, Maya." She turned away, struggling to maintain her composure. Her father, the reason she had joined the defense force, her hero, her guide, a traitor, it was unthinkable. And yet, there had been changes in him before Titan. Subtle differences in his communications, new priorities he wouldn't explain. "We need more evidence," she finally said, "and we'll find it on Persephone." The Retribution approached the abandoned colony using asteroid debris as cover, passive sensors detecting significant energy readings from what should have been a dead world. Persephone hung in space like a gray pearl, its surface scarred by mining operations and the hasty evacuation when the war had reached this sector. Maya led a larger ground team this time, including Vikram, Marcus, Lena, and 6 security specialists. They deployed in 2 shuttles, landing several kilometers from the main energy signature and approaching on foot through the rugged terrain. The colony's main facility was built into the side of a mountain, its entrances hidden but for the telltale heat signatures and communication emissions that the Retribution's advanced sensors had detected. Maya's team set up observation posts and monitored for 2 full planetary rotations, witnessing shuttles coming and going, personnel in unmarked uniforms, and equipment being moved inside. "I count at least 30 personnel," Marcus reported. "Mixed human and Xenos. Security seems heavy but not impenetrable." Maya made her decision. "We go in quiet. Primary objective is intelligence gathering. I want to know what convergence means and who's behind it. Capture high-value targets if possible, but survival and extraction with intel is the priority." They infiltrated during the colony's night cycle, using a maintenance tunnel Zoe had identified from old mining schematics. The facility inside was a disturbing fusion of human and Xenos technology. Sterile corridors giving way to organic-looking structures, lighting that pulsed like living tissue, and air that tasted metallic and strange. "Life signs ahead," Marcus whispered, checking his scanner. 2 humans, 1 Xenos. They moved silently down the corridor, stunning the guards before they could raise an alarm. Dr. Novik examined the unconscious Xenos with professional curiosity. It was the first intact specimen she'd been able to study up close. The alien was humanoid but clearly not human, with gray-green skin, elongated limbs, and a cranium that housed a brain structure vastly different from anything terrestrial. "The neural structure is fascinating," she murmured. "Designed for collective processing, like a biological network node." "Admire it later," Maya said. "We need to reach the central chamber." They progressed deeper into the facility, downloading data from terminals they passed. The information they found confirmed their worst fears. The Ascended were preparing for what they called the Great Convergence, a plan to implant key figures throughout human society with advanced Xenos technology, creating a 5th column that would pave the way for a new kind of invasion. But the true shock came when they reached the central chamber. Through an observation window, they saw rows of suspension tanks, each containing a human body in various stages of transformation. Xenos tissue was being grafted onto human forms, creating hybrids that were neither fully human nor alien. "They're building an army," Vikram whispered in horror, and supervising it all, moving from tank to tank with the confidence of authority, was a man Maya had thought dead for 2 years. Admiral James Chen, her father. She stared in disbelief, emotions warring within her, joy that he was alive, horror at what he was doing, desperate hope that there was some explanation besides betrayal. "Maya," Vikram gripped her arm. "We need to move. Now." Too late. An alarm blared throughout the facility. They'd been detected. "Intruder alert. Security breach in Sector 7. The voice over the intercom was mechanical, inhuman. "Fall back to extraction point," Maya ordered, but corridors that had been clear moments before were suddenly blocked by armed guards. both human and Xenos. The battle that followed was chaotic and desperate. Maya's team fought their way through the facility, using their superior training against greater numbers. Energy weapons flashed, lighting the organic metallic corridors with bursts of destructive power. Two of Maya's security team fell. Lena was wounded but continued, supporting Zoe as they retreated toward the maintenance tunnel. Vikram and Marcus provided covering fire, setting explosives to delay pursuit. In the midst of the battle, Maya found herself separated from the others, cut off by a collapse in the corridor caused by an explosive charge. She took an alternate route, finding herself in a small laboratory and face to face with her father. He looked both the same and utterly different. The strong features she had inherited were there, but his eyes had the same unnatural gleam she had seen in Warner's. Metallic filaments were visible beneath his skin, and when he spoke, his voice had a resonant quality that was not entirely human. "Maya," he said, "I knew you would come eventually. The most dedicated hunter in the fleet. I'm proud of you, in my way." "Why?" she asked, her weapon trained on him, hand steady despite the turmoil inside her. "You were a hero. You fought for humanity. How could you betray everything you stood for?" He smiled, a gesture that no longer reached his altered eyes. "I haven't betrayed anything. I've evolved. The Xenos showed me what humanity could become, not extinct, but transcendent. The war was wasteful, a misunderstanding. The real victory is convergence, human adaptability and innovation merged with Xenos' collective consciousness and biological technology. They killed billions," Maya said through clenched teeth, "including everyone on your ship." "Necessary losses in an evolutionary leap," he replied calmly. "You've seen what we're building here. A new species, neither human nor Xenos, but superior to both. Join us, Maya. You're my daughter. Your place is at my side for the new age." For a moment, looking at her father's face, Maya hesitated. Then she remembered the devastated colonies, the desperate battles, the billions dead. She thought of Warner's words, "The worthy survive to ascend," and the tanks of half-transformed bodies in the central chamber. "My father died at the Battle of Titan," she said quietly. "You're not him. You're just wearing his face." She fired her weapon. The stunner bolt struck him squarely, but he merely staggered back, the implants in his system absorbing much of the impact. He lunged forward with inhuman speed, knocking the weapon from her hand. They fought in the confined space of the lab, Maya using every hand-to-hand combat technique she had learned, her father countering with enhanced strength and speed. Instruments crashed to the floor, equipment sparked and shorted out. Maya was losing, her father's augmented capabilities proving too much for even her trained reflexes. He pinned her against a console, his hand closing around her throat. "It won't hurt," he promised as she struggled. "The integration process has improved. You'll understand once it begins." Maya's vision began to darken from lack of oxygen. Her hand, searching desperately along the console behind her, closed around something cold and metallic, a surgical instrument with a razor-sharp edge. With the last of her strength, she drove it into the base of her father's skull, directly into the master implant Lena had identified from their research. He screamed, a sound that was not human, and released her. Maya gasped for air as her father convulsed, the implant sparking and failing. For a brief moment, clarity returned to his eyes. "Maya," he whispered, his voice his own again. "Thank you. I was trapped in my own mind, watching. Please, end this place. Don't let them." He convulsed again, the implant attempting to reassert control. Maya picked up her weapon with shaking hands. "I love you, Father," she said, and fired at full power. She found her way back to the team through smoke-filled corridors. Vikram had set the facility's power core to overload. They had minutes to reach the extraction point. They fought their way out as the facility began to break apart around them, the organic components of the structure reacting violently to the energy surge. The two shuttles lifted off as explosions began to consume the mountain facility, carrying the surviving team members and all the intelligence they had gathered. From orbit, they watched as a final massive detonation obliterated the ascended base, leaving a smoking crater on Persephone's gray surface. In the Retribution's medical bay, Dr. Novik treated the wounded while analyzing the data they had recovered. The implant technology, the hybridization program, it's all here, she reported, along with lists of infiltrated positions, planned convergence sites, communication protocols. Enough to convince Earth Command of the threat? Maya asked. Her voice was rough, her throat bruised from her father's grip, her heart still raw from what she had been forced to do. More than enough, Vikram confirmed. We've cut off one head of the beast, but now we know how many more remain. Maya nodded, looking at the star chart displaying known ascended locations across the galaxy. Then we keep hunting, she said. Every traitor, every collaborator, every convergence facility. We find them all. The Retribution set course for Earth to deliver their evidence and receive new orders. As hyperspace enveloped the ship, Maya stood alone on the observation deck, her father's final words echoing in her mind. She had lost him twice now, once to presumed death, and now to actual death by her own hand. Yet in his final moments, he had been himself again, had helped her deal a significant blow to the ascended conspiracy. The war had only been the beginning. The hunt would continue across the vastness of the galaxy, against an enemy that wore familiar faces and promised a future that came at too terrible a cost. Maya Chen would lead that hunt, carrying both the burden of what she had lost and the determination to ensure humanity remained free to forge its own destiny among the stars. She placed her hand against the cold viewport, looking out at the hyperspace corridor streaking past. We're coming for you, she promised the traitors hiding in the dark. All of you.